Hello and welcome to Game Pass Tangerine. I'm gonna have some
Xbox Battle Pass.
Ninja Gaiden gameplay in the Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma Male Edition. What is it called? Is it called Black? Not
Uh,
Sig. There's one called Sigma or something, isn't there?
there, yeah.
Bro, I looked at the timeline of all the different Ninja Gaiden games, and I'm like, nah, there's no way. There's just too many of them. There's too many different versions of the same game.
Yeah, oh, yeah, sure.
So I'll talk about Ninja Gaiden in a bit, but I wanted to talk about my experience with Game Pass now because I've had a subscription to Game Pass for over a year and I've just ended it. So I've written down some of my thoughts about Game Pass. What do we want to go for first? The negatives or the positives? Where should we start with? The good news or the bad news?
Well, I was like chronologically, like you decided to keep it for a year, right? Like you started to. I see you went for the very cheap one, then you continued it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
So
started.
why?
I did like
Why?
my friend gave me a key to give me a month's trial, and
Yeah.
my original plan was I was going to do the trial when Starfield came out because I wanted to try
Oh, yeah.
Starfield, which is the reason I was interested in going back because I've used Game Pass in the year back before the Xbox app. It was like the Microsoft. It was a weird app you had to download that was in beta for PC and. I just basically used it to play Sea of Thieves mostly. I played a few other games like State of Decay and stuff like that. But I was it was like £1 for a month or something was the deal they were doing, or like £1 for 3 months even. So they were really trying to push Game Pass a lot. But now, how much is Game Pass? It's like because I was buying prepaid cards for cheaper, which was a lot cheaper, right? But they've just increased the price. I think it's about like it was like £8-9. Because I don't play for Ultimate, so all you get for Ultimate is Ultimate is basically like you own an Xbox tax. You get like Xbox Gold.
Oh, okay.
So you can play online multiplayer stuff. You get access to the cloud streaming, which isn't the greatest. So if I wanted to. And I'd be streaming from an Xbox to whatever I was streaming to. Like, I think because people were saying, like, if you played, like, Diablo on Game Pass and then you played it from the streaming service, it would stream it from a console, which would be a different edition. It's streaming it for the console edition, which doesn't sync your, like, account and saves and stuff, I believe. Yeah, it's currently, like, £10 a month for Game Pass if you just buy it.
Because the basic version.
They don't. Yeah, that's the basic. Well, there isn't even like more basic edition, where you just get access to like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, you essentially get access to like a bunch of selected games. It's called Core, so you don't get like day one exclusives. You just like you can play the Master Chief Collection and you can play Deep Rock Galactic, but like most of it you can't play.
Okay. They got like a small selection for and then the rest at the lower. Is it the rest for the next tier?
Yeah.
Or the basic tier? Okay.
But then the final thing about Ultimate was that sometimes they'll have DLC, like the Persona 3 Reload expansion was exclusive to Game Pass Ultimate, and I was like, but it was like one of the only things I've ever seen beyond there. Like there's almost never anything that useful on there, in my opinion. That was one of the few things. Yeah, but so the reason I subbed was because I wanted to play Starfield. It was in like January, February. I started playing a bunch of different games that I wanted. Like the first game I looked up was Hi-Fi Rush. I remember I was like, I need to play Hi-Fi Rush because that was one of the games I missed from 2023. I'm gonna get I think Hi-Fi Rush came in 2023. Like
I feel like that's correct. Yeah.
And then I played that. Then I was like, "Fuck, this game's really good." I missed this one. And then I played a bunch of games, and then I said, I'm gonna start. I've got like a couple of days left of Game Pass. I'm gonna install and play Persona 3 Reload. There's nowhere I'm actually gonna like this game. Where I'd have to keep subbing to keep playing it. And then I started playing Persona 3 Reload and I said, oh my god, this game's a fucking masterpiece. Went on to be my favorite game of the year. Absolutely,
off the year of Japan.
absolutely amazing game. I think technically Hi-Fi Rush kicked off the year of Japan, but
sure.
it was definitely Persona 3 was definitely an amazing game in the sense that it was a game that I never would have played otherwise if it wasn't for the perfect storm of I said that I was going to try Japanese. Like in the past, Tony, I've said like, oh, I don't like JRPGs. I don't want to play JRPGs. And it was the perfect storm of I'm going to try something that I would normally never play. And I also have basically what is a free trial demo access to it through Game Pass, which I think is one of the massive positives of Game Pass. There is no cost commitment to try a game because you've already paid for the sub. So I've got this on my, like, anytime a new game came out, I was like, yeah, I'll give it, like Pal World, I was like, I'm going to install this for the meme. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is like a pretty decent survival crafting game. Like, this is actually pretty fun. That was another one of like the surprises. Sorry, what did you say?
With Colony Sim elements?
Yeah.
How much you went into that?
It also turned me into like a tycoon boss where I was just like, this pal's depressed. Make medicine, that's going to take a long time. Let me just get a different pal. You know?
You went for the full evil mode.
Yeah.
Like you could have done the whole logistic trying to being good guy.
Power World is it's a cynical piece on real life labor laws and how easy it is to just get rid of sick employees and just replace them with new ones. But yeah, I started playing like tons of games, Japanese games, just general games like Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. I've been playing recently.
I feel like that's like smaller story stuff. Like I feel like, well, maybe not story, but like there's lots of smaller games. I feel like, but I can't actually remember all the games you played. I've talked about.
I feel like I can look at my backlog and tell you like all the different games I played. Because I can go back to the start of 2024 because that's when I got the access to Game Pass. Oh, there's a game another game I would have. Bluey the video game. That was a huge game I played on Game Pass. I didn't like. A huge game that I never would have tried if it wasn't for Game Pass. Citizen Sleeper. I went through the Game Pass.
Oh yeah.
All the games in Game Pass, and I told Tony to pick out a bunch of games he was interested in seeing. And he picked out Citizen Sleeper, and I went, I know this game's got good reviews, but this is nothing like anything I would play. And I sat down and I played Citizen Sleeper for half an hour, and I was like, this game is brilliant. I want to play more Citizen Sleeper. So I've got that on Steam
it's better than
now.
I thought. Like, I was interested in it. It looked better than I thought watching you play it. So
I played Slayer's X Terminal Aftermath Vengeance of the Slayer, the shitpost FPS game. Slime Rancher 2, new Super Lucky's Tale, which is actually a really underrated platformer. It started out as like a VR Oculus game. Dicey Dungeons we also now own on Steam, which is a great little roguelite like dice building game, I guess you would call it, deck builder.
I guess
Turner Boy Robs a Bank, which is a perfect like short little game. The Gunk. I tried a Yakuza game for about 30 minutes and got really confused. I played the entirety of Gears of War again with a friend. I played Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun, Persona 3, Lonely Mountain Downhill, Late Year Frontier, Lil Gator game I played on Game Pass. Cocoon, which is a really good game that I played on Game Pass. Another Crab's Treasure. So another thing about Game Pass that is kind of a negative is that games will frequently go off Game Pass. So you'll see like a whole section on Game Pass like this game is leaving soon, and on there I would usually go on there and I try and pick out a game like, okay, do I want to play this before it goes off? And one of them I saw was called Pac-Man Museum, and I went, well, I've never really played Pac-Man other than just playing the original Pac-Man like a billion times like everybody else, but I've never really got the appeal of it. And then I went on a crazy spree of playing every Pac-Man game ever, and I was like, I kind of like Pac-Man. I played Hellblade 2, which I think was one of my favorite games 2024. High on Life, which was kind of mid.
that was on the Game Pass, was it? Okay.
Yeah. It's a Microsoft Studio game. So, I also played... I was just looking at it. Oh, Fist Forged and Shadow Torch. This was a game that was going off Battle Pass. I tried it, and I was like, yeah, this game, I kind of don't like it, so I stopped playing it. And there wasn't any like, oh, I bought this game, so I have to finish it sort of thing. Venba! Venba was another game that was going off Game Pass, and I was like, I never would have in a million years bought Venba, but I absolutely adore Venba, and it's just a short little game I played because it was going off Game Pass, and I think it is a really, really cool game. But yeah. I had to go through the full list, I feel like. I mean, Call of Duty, I played the new Call of Duty, I was like, yeah, still Call of Duty, which they've just started adding more Activision stuff to Game Pass now with the acquisition stuff.
Yeah, I suppose, when did that go through in the end? I feel like it's both really recent and been a while. Or
there was the whole problem with the who were they? The American government was trying to stop them coming together, so they had to hold off stuff for a long time.
Yeah.
There's a whole like monopoly stuff. But yeah.
I don't know why America bothers, because it's almost always no.
The coolest thing about Game Pass, I would say, is there's a large variety of games. There's no cost commitment to try a game. And there's day one releases, and I've put in brackets sometimes. Because I'm going to be talking about a game today that was a day one release in quotation marks. Oh, and it also lets you play with friends who also have Game Pass, which was useful for when, like, Pal World came out, and then my friend Jesse also had Pal World on Game Pass. He's like, okay, we both have Game Pass, let's play this game together. I didn't find it too useful because my friend who had Game Pass is very much doesn't play that many multiplayer games, so it's hard to get him to play stuff together. But like, if you were like me and a couple of friends are going to get Game Pass and we all play multiplayer games together, then it's a pretty good idea. The only negative is that I think Game Pass usually has like a separate version of the game that doesn't always have crossplay with the non-Game Pass version, so you'll kind of need to have the Game Pass version. So day one releases sometimes, Tony. My favorite trend in gaming right now is releasing a game a week early and then charging like an extra like 30, 40 pounds for the privilege of playing it like a week early.
And you call it the gold edition, and that's all you get.
Yeah. So recently, I've played games on Game Pass. So when Indiana Jones was out on the early access version, I couldn't play it because it wasn't on Game Pass. Now, a big advertising selling factor of Game Pass was this game will be available day one. And there is almost all the Microsoft games coming out now are not available on day one on Game Pass. You have to wait like 3-4 days, sometimes a week.
To me, the way I see it is like, I don't feel like that's a problem with. I mean, you could argue it is like Microsoft has like something to do with that, but like, to me, in terms of the actual Xbox Game Pass, like, I feel like it's not its fault per se. I just feel like, because they're like they're saying that you're getting it early, and that's the real release day is a week later, which we both disagree with. But I think you can still argue that you're getting games a week after official release.
Yeah.
Which I think is still pretty
It's
good.
cool, but to be like, I played like the start of this year, I played Avowed because it just came out on Game Pass, so I didn't have to spend like, what is it, like probably like 60-70 pounds to buy Avowed on Steam, right?
I assume it's like 60 pounds. I have no idea.
Okay, so let's go into the next. So price increase. The price of Game Pass has gone up, and they're cutting back on prepaid cards. So I think after a certain date, you'll no longer be able to use prepaid cards to pay for your Game Pass sub. So they're kind of cracking down on like the cheaper version of Game Pass loophole that me and a lot of people are using. How much do I really play on Game Pass? I did play a lot last year, but I found like the end of the year and the start of this year, I've not been using it as much. I feel like with Game Pass, my ethos going forward is like, if there's something I really want to play or like a bunch of stuff on there, I'll just play it, and then unsub after a month. Because I think the biggest problem with Game Pass for me is not being able to pick up where you left off. Like, so when I play a game on Game Pass, I'm like, if I don't immediately love the game, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm going to hop off this because I can't go back to a game because the chances are either I won't have a Game Pass sub, or another negative about Game Pass is games go off Game Pass for after a year or two since they come onto the service.
I guess you get the double whammy of things can leave and you want to make the most out of your subscription. So that you kind of, I don't know.
It's good in a sense where I was playing more stuff initially in the honeymoon phase where I was like, okay, there's so many games I can play. Let me play this. This is going to go off. Let me try this. It feels like you have more initiative to push you to try stuff and play it right now, and again with the day one releases, this is out now, let me try this sort of thing. But I know if I for example with Persona 3, if I didn't sit down and complete the entire it's 80 to 100 hours long, I'm probably never going to be able to get my progress back from that, because my choices are to, if I don't have my Game Pass sub anymore, my choices are to buy it on the Microsoft Store and then play it from there, or restart my progress on Steam.
Saves?
No. So your saves are tied to your Xbox account. There was a GitHub product of a guy who was trying to convert saves from the Game Pass version to the Steam version of a lot of games, but he's become kind of inactive, and it's kind of hit or miss what works. It's very much just there's a whitelist of stuff that works, and it's very manual sort of thing.
I find it crazy they're tied to just keep saves open.
So,
I don't understand.
Here's another point: version differences. The Game Pass version is almost always different from the Steam version, whereas whenever a version on Game Pass goes through, it has to be certified for the Xbox as well, and then it has to go through Microsoft's rigorous certification progress. So you may be ahead 3 patches on the Steam version, and then on the Xbox version, you're still on the original patch. So sometimes it was very, very common for me to be playing a game on Game Pass that launched without stuff like DLSS, whereas the Steam version had DLSS, ray tracing, other features like that. You always felt like you were, and again, Pal World, my friend had it on Steam. I couldn't play with him because he was literally on a different version of the game to me when that game came out. The patches, the Xbox version was an older patch that was completely behind the Steam version, which was kind of annoying because I wanted to play together with him. But yeah, so when you game on Game Pass, sometimes you're not just not getting it on day one. Sometimes you're getting the worst version of the game, which I was that's kind of not the greatest. Because with single player games, you would go, okay, you finish the game when you release it, and then it doesn't matter how many updates they do because you've got the finished game, right? But that's not how games work in 2025, right? A game gets released and there's 5 different patches to fix everything that's been broken from development.
And also there's still going to be problems unless you want developers to do huge amount of testing with lots of hardware. I feel they should do more testing before release for get rid of bugs, but something you're going to release to real hardware, it's going to be a problem.
But yeah, I feel like for the last year I was there was a lot of stuff I wanted to play, and I did take breaks from Game Pass, and I was okay, I'm going to ignore this and play this, but for the most part I was I'm going to try and play as much on Game Pass as possible, and it felt I was playing on somebody else's clock, the Microsoft clock. Whereas this year,
it wasn't your time.
I've just been kind of playing when I want to, and that's meant actually I've just been playing less. At least in the early months. I feel usually in the winter time is the time I play the least game, other than I've been playing Marvel Rivals and stuff, but I don't when I play Hearthstone and Marvel Rivals, I'm just this is a filler game for when I'm actually getting down and playing something really I'm interested in. But when it comes to the winter, I don't know, I don't go out as much, I don't get as much sun, and I'm just I'm more tired, I don't want to play as many games.
More sleep.
Yeah. But yeah, so for me, Tony, that's sort of what I think of Game Pass. I think it's a good service, but it has some caveats. And I think if you're willing to play in a certain way, Game Pass can be really good for you. And for the most part, for the previous year, that was fine for me. I rarely replay games. I usually sit down and complete games from start to finish when I play them. But there was some other stuff that was like the price increase, the different versions of the game, the fact that the game would go off eventually, and I would.
It just made it less of a. I would say price performance. That's not the right thing, but like price to what you're getting out of it decreased as the price increased and other stuff was.
Yeah, but for the most part, I was just like, oh, also I have to mention, as a Steam Deck owner, I cannot play Game Pass on Steam Deck. It's that is one of the big features. So xCloud is an Ultimate Edition feature if I wanted to stream it, and I actually do play quite a bit on my Steam Deck when I'm out and about. Going forward, my plan is to buy games on Steam.
Just slower because you're playing more games, like you're playing like more like recent games. I felt in the past year than any other time. Like you plan to go back to just like waiting for sales when you want to play them?
My plan is to try not to buy any games because I own over 1,000 games and I've barely played most of them. That's not to say I won't keep playing demos and trying stuff out. And if something comes out that I'm really interested in and I plan on playing it as soon as it comes out, then definitely. Like this year, like I plan on buying GTA 6 when that comes out on PC. I plan on buying like Slay the Spire 2 when that comes. Like there's certain games where there'll be a day one purchase from me. But going forward, there's definitely a ton of games where it's like, I don't need to play this on day one. And the only reason I'm playing on day one is because I had Game Pass.
Okay.
But yeah, that's... What do you think of Game Pass, actually? Do you think you would ever sub to something like that?
I think... Because like, you kind of joined, like... I mean, it was a year... Maybe a year after, but like, you kind of joined Game Pass like a year after like I stopped having Netflix. Like, I still haven't resubscribed. Like I've said, like I'll resubscribe. Like I'll just like do like a monthly thing. Like I'll watch this for a month. I'll subscribe and then stop subscribing. I've not actually done that. I've just been like kind of saving like what I would have paid for Netflix and like kind of just been like buying DVDs slowly. That's kind of, I don't know. I just maybe it's just a me thing, but I just feel like I'm getting more out of like owning it. Like I feel like I appreciate what it is by understanding the actual price and like and it's like the transactional thing. Like I will pay this for this, and even as I was saying, like oh that's a solid deal because it's now cheaper for the same amount of stuff. But I kind of like that, and I know it seems like not technically yours. It's still like a subscription to a service, right? But it's more yours.
Sometimes I would play a game on Game Pass, and I'm like, yeah, this game's really good. I want to own this game. Like I did that with several games. Like I went and I bought Citizen Sleeper. I think it was in was it the Jingle Jam Tiltify game bundle?
I think so. Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I want to own Citizen Sleeper. Let me get this bundle. And then Dicey Dungeons was another one. I was like, I want to own this because I want to play on my Steam Deck. And I played another game recently where I was like, I sat down and I played this game for 15 minutes, and then I said, okay, I'm going to stop playing this. My Game Pass is about to run out. I don't want to rush through this to complete it. I want to play this at my own pace. I'm just going to put this on my wish list and wait for it to go on sale, and it is Tunic. Tunic is really fucking interesting. This is... it's essentially a Metroidvania, but it's set up in a way where... It's almost like a, like I call the Outer Wilds a Metroidvania sometimes. It's like, your character gets upgrades.
Knowledge helps you.
But also you have like this game manual. There's like an actual manual in the game. And it has a bunch of information on it. And it's written in a language that you don't understand. And as you progress through the game, you can get like knowledge and you'll start to like be able to recognize what words say. I've played a video game before, so I was like, this probably says, do you want to unlock the door? So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll unlock the door.
Yeah.
But I think this is the game manual. And as you progress through it, the game manual gets bigger and there's more pages. And suddenly as you go through, you go, wait a minute. That's what that meant this whole time. So you have like these lots of like little eureka moments where you're like, oh god, I did not know I could do that sort of thing. It almost reminds me of like Animal World in a way as well.
Yeah. That's a Metroidvania.
But I sat down, I played 15 minutes, and I said, this is really fucking good. I have to play this. Animal World is like a Metroidvania. This is really good. I'm going to buy this on Steam. That's how I played it on Game Pass. Even though I could, play more of it for a couple of days before my Game Pass sub ended. But I was like, yeah, this is really cool. I'll go back to Ninja Gaiden.
I just feel like it's...
Oh, go on.
I just say, like, I feel like if you're playing like lots of AAA games, like I feel like...
Because I do play a lot of AAA games.
I don't know. Yeah, I just like, for me, it's like, I feel like the monthly cost is like, I'd rather just like... I know like you'd get less overall, but I just feel I'd rather just like, wait 3 months and spend that amount of money sort of thing. That's just how I feel.
Well, let's say like if you were playing AAA games, you could have like 6 months of Game Pass sub for the cost of one AAA game.
Yeah, 100%.
So like if you're playing AAA games,
if you have no intention of playing it again,
it is probably worth subbing to Game Pass, especially if you're on an Xbox, because you have to pay for the multiplayer anyway. Although the Xbox, the Ultimate Edition is more expensive. I think it's like £15 a month. So that would only be like 4 months of Ultimate for a AAA game.
But I think the other thing that like kind of annoys me is like I don't, like the conditions always change, right? Like what a standard one is just like, oh, this game won't be on the service forever. Which like, fair enough, but it's still like the service is changing. And it's like
But yeah, I hope to talk about Tunic again in a future Tangerine. I'm like, I finished this game. It's really good. I've only played... Because there was a demo of Tunic, but it doesn't exist anymore. So like the only way you can actually demo this game is by playing on Game Pass, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Apparently own this game. Okay.
Well, Tony, you should play Tunic. It's really fun.
Yeah. I it's odd. Like the last month, like I've had like 3 videos that talk about it, and like, you know what? I already knew it was a good game. I didn't know why. Apparently, I own it. I should really play it.
You know, it also has like it also reminds me a lot of like Zelda Link's Awakening, which I played on the Switch, where it's very much like that top-down, like very colorful, destroying pots and getting new items to solve puzzles. Sort of
there's something sad about destroying pots, isn't there?
Yeah. I loved like going into somebody's house and destroying their pots and then immediately getting called out and going like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you just walked in here and destroyed my pottery? What the hell?
You mean the opposite of Avowed, where you just deliver everything you see?
Yeah, well, we can talk about Avowed. I just wanted to mention Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. I think I talked about it on the podcast before. So with Tunic, I played it 15 minutes. And I was like, I got to put this down because it's too good. Ninja Gaiden Black 2, I played 15 minutes and I was like, I got to put this down. I'm not enjoying this. It is like... I think the big thing for me was it was stuttery. Performance was all over the place.
You did like the camera right?
I was constantly fighting the camera. So I tried playing with a controller, and then I was constantly like fighting the camera with the right analog stick. And I was like, okay, let me try with the mouse and keyboard, so I can just do the camera with the mouse. And I was like, oh god, I'm still constantly fighting the camera, and the keyboard and mouse and keyboard controls are fucking awful for this game. Go on.
Oh yeah, mouse keyboard. I was saying mouse keyboard would be bad, but I just remember it seemed more like it's almost like a fighting game that's technically a 3D game. Like you're going like in between arenas, and the camera's kind of locked into different arenas. And if you just have to get used to it, I guess, or just don't play it. I suppose it's a valid option.
Well, the thing is, it'd be like, yes, you want to execute an enemy. Press P on your keyboard. It's like P's on the other fucking side of my keyboard. Why the fuck would that be the default bind? Like.
Yeah.
What is going on here? Like, I know PC gaming is getting much more popular in Japan recently because, like, they've been getting way more into it, and like building computers and GPUs are more popular there. But like,
do you think they're playing their PC games with controllers though, or do you think they're using keyboard?
I think mouse and keyboard is becoming a lot more of a thing. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Yeah.
I think for certain genres, 100%.
But
yeah, I would like it just feels like one of these older games. I assume they remastered it, at least in this sense, to a T, which may be a bad thing. They could have unlocked the camera and made it just a better camera and better experience.
I don't know. I played this and I was like, I'm just gonna play something else.
I gotta say, I've been watching the background of the Stars video. I was like, you know what, I could play this game.
Yeah, you could lock it in.
I could lock it in.
I mean, once you get into it, it is very much like hack and slashery gameplay.
Yeah.
But it's just the camera just really pissed me off.
Yeah.
I think
we have different expectations for controls and movement as well, so maybe I can get used to it. I don't know. We'll see. I remember not having too much of a problem before, but that was on like PS3.
Let's talk about Avowed, because that's the game I've played the most. I did not finish Avowed. I could have finished Avowed, and I chose to kind of I had like a week of Game Pass left, and I was like, I should play more Avowed, and I was like, you know what? There's nothing really pulling me to finish Avowed. So this is probably one of Obsidian's strangest games, in a sense that Obsidian's games are generally like weak on gameplay and very heavy good story and world atmosphere and stuff.
That way, for sure.
Yeah. Avowed is like the world and characters and the way you kind of play. It kind of reminds me of, I want to say, like, it's almost like Oblivion Skyrim, where you're just like running around like a big world.
Just a sandbox.
You talk to an NPC. He's like, I want you to go and kill 10 skeletons in a cave, sort of thing. And there's not much, I don't know how you feel about like the story of like Skyrim and Oblivion, but I feel like that's very much in the background sort of thing. It's more just about exploring the world.
If you compare it to something like Skyrim, it's very much in the background. I would say though, like, isn't Avowed missing like the one thing that if you're going to do that, isn't it like missing the one thing that Skyrim has, was like the interactable, like the, what do you call it, like the serendipitous like AI with like you steal something in a city and it's like, oh, I'm in trouble now.
You violated the law.
That's not really a thing in Avowed, right?
No.
Like, again, like you can just steal stuff from like someone under their nose, even though it's technically theirs.
So like in the other games, you would have like a morality system, right? I wanted to finish my point. I was going to say Obsidian games usually have really good story and really bad gameplay. This game has really fun combat and really, I do not care about the story or the world I'm in. It's based on Pillars of Eternity. And it's a follow-on from that story. So I'm guessing there is a bunch of characters that are like, hey, I'm from Pillars of Eternity. I have no idea who they are. There's a bunch of books.
That shouldn't matter though. They should introduce it.
There's a bunch of like books and stuff you can read, and like there's constant notes everywhere in this game that you can pick up read. I was reading all of them, and then I got to a point where I was like, I'm just gonna stop picking these up. Like if there's something important to me, like tell me in like a cutscene or show it to me. But I can't just keep reading all these fucking notes about a war that happened 20 years ago that I have not played Pillars of Eternity.
Yeah. I feel like as well, like I feel like at least for me, like, I think the premise is like a really cool idea. Just like I was then watching like people explain like what actually happens. Like, oh, they kind of ruined that. That's not. I think you need more if you're gonna be an envoy. I think you need to be able to do more and have more things happen, more story, more interesting story, and I think that's very important.
I think my issue with the game is I've played Fallout New Vegas, and that is potentially one of my favorite games of all time. It's a fantastic systems-driven RPG,
Yeah.
And with amazing written characters and a really cool world to go and explore. But I think the thing with Avowed is their games recently, because I played the whole of the Outer Worlds, and my big thing with the Outer Worlds was like, it was okay. I like sci-fi stuff. I thought the DLC was a lot better than base game, but for the most part, the Outer Worlds is very much... You remember when I played Bioshock Infinite and I was like, Ken Levine kind of hits you over the head with the messaging, whereas like the original Bioshocks were like very subtle with their messaging, and it was and they had more stuff that you would find in the world and interact with and that sort of stuff. Whereas Bioshock Infinite is just like hits you over the head with I'm just imagining like a wrestler with a chair, and it's Ken Levine, and he's like, it's about religion, it's about racism, it's about classism. The Outer Worlds was very much like hitting you over the head with a chair. It's like, it's about capitalism. Avowed is very much... I
thought that was the style it's going for.
Avowed is very much about you are the envoy of the Adiran Empire, and it's very much like you come to this land and you're like, we're here to bring order, and everyone's like, man, I really hate these people have come into our land and taken over, and just kind of, it's like, oh, we're the British Empire. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's very much on the nose, like, colonization bad. It's very much like the...
Instead of exploring it in depth or showing... There's always more than two sides of the story, and I feel like...
And the game does go like, oh, you can be like, oh, I'm just an envoy. I didn't know this is happening. I didn't see it from your side. Or you can be like, oh, I'm from the Great Adirian Empire. Get fucked.
Yeah, that's only two sides though.
For the most part, what I was really disappointed with was it felt like there was almost always like one way to complete a quest. Like there wasn't really any super interesting ways to change quests around. And then another thing was a lot of the dialogue options were yes or yes. And it was just like, what's the point of me being in this conversation when there's always a way you're going to pull me?
It sounds like sounds like Mass Effect in terms of like choices, but without any of like the interesting characters and things happening.
Because at the start of the game, they have you pick like a certain backstory, and you can spec charisma or like you need a certain level of intellect to do this choice, or if you have a certain level of strength, you can brute force this choice. And it feels like none of those matter at all. Like they're just like a slightly different line of dialogue that does nothing. For the most part, that's what it feels like. And I'm just like, what's the point?
It's no Baldur's Gate 3 in that regard. I think no game is, but
I think Avowed is a fun game, but I think like I have insane standards from Obsidian from playing Fallout New Vegas, and I feel like people have have played Baldur's Gate 3 or like Disco Elysium or something. They're like, this is what an RPG should be like, right?
But I still feel like even like if you go like, okay, fine, it's not going to be like this good. I still feel like it's still missing. It's still missing things like, fine, it won't be a 10 out of 10, but it's still missing things that would make it like an 8 out of 10 in that regard, for example. I still feel, I don't know if we're being like too harsh, we're just noticing it.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I would say I had fun playing Avowed. The thing is, I played like 20 hours. Fighting. I like Kai, the first companion you get. He is very much just like...
Is that the guy we're with now?
Yeah, the blue guy, Kai. Who I believe, Tony, he's voiced by Garrick. Garrick?
Yeah.
Garrus.
Garrick's from DS9.
Okay. See, I knew he was like a Mass Effect character or whatever.
Oh yeah.
I haven't played the game.
He's a good character.
But yeah, his voice acting was good. Like I like the character.
He's good. He's a great voice actor.
Yeah, but then I got like a dwarf guy, and I was like, there's like there's like an animancer woman you can get, and I'm like, okay. Like he was
furry?
No, that's someone you get later on.
Okay.
So the way the game is split up is it's sort of like the Outer Worlds. The way the Outer Worlds did it is each planet was like a big open level, and then you would travel between them.
I quite like that. I'm okay with that. I know some people don't get along with that.
Yeah, I don't hate it. My problem with Avowed is they're kind of just big open empty areas that kind of signpost you towards the interesting things, and the interesting things are, here is a camp with enemies, kill the enemies. And I just, most of the time, Avowed, you just kind of, which can be fun, but most of the time you're just walking around killing camps of enemies and then just finding legendary loot just like lying around. There was so much like
compared to like a good a very good RPG. It's like you could like walk up to an enemy camp in like Fallout New Vegas, and then it turns out actually I want to be friends with these guys.
I'm going to talk to these people. There was so little like wait, why am I? Are we the baddies? Yeah.
There's no surprise. I guess it's like just like cookie cutter quests, which is a shame.
But yeah, the combat is pretty good. Like I think they improved like combat massively in the Outer Worlds in terms of like the companion and the actual feel of the gunplay and stuff like that. But Avowed turns it up
above that here.
Yeah, so it turns it up a notch where you have like a stamina bar, for whether you can block or attack. But then each time you attack an enemy, they have like a stagger bar. And if you attack them when you get rid of the stagger bar, then you do like a crit attack. So I don't know if you saw with like the bow and arrow, I fired like 3 arrows. There's like a big blunderbuss shot from like the gun. And
that sounds really cool. Okay.
And you can, anytime you can swap what you have equipped. Like you can have a set of 2 weapons on the go. So you have a weapon in each hand. So you could have a shield, a dagger, a bow, a gun, stuff like that. And then you can switch between 2 different sets, and then at any point you could pause the game and freeze. So if you want to do magic, you can have like a magical wand in one hand, and then you can also have like a grimoire, like a book. And the way they have it set up is the grimoires have their own unique sets of spells inside the grimoires. Cool. So you can like switch between them to get different spells. So like I was playing like a rogue where I went like heavily into like stealth and movement speed and like bow and arrows and more stealthy stuff. Basically, I was just trying to play Dishonored like I was with Indiana Jones. I was like, I wish this game was Dishonored. Maybe I just need to. I need to like just replay Dishonored because every time I play a game, I'm like, how can I make this game Dishonored?
You just what you're feeling.
It's just what I'm always looking for.
But
anyway. The game really does allow you to kind of build your character however you want to. Like, you can be stealthy, you can be a magic user, you can be a big brute who's tanky, and you can kind of switch between stuff on the fly. So, like, for me, I went heavily into, like, stealth, and I found that when I was in stealth, when you're in stealth, it drains your mana, but you can get, like, reduced mana drain when you upgrade it, and you can also move faster in stealth. And I was like, I like moving fast. So I started just like getting all the abilities that make me move faster. And one of the companions has an ability that makes you move faster as well. And then I was looking in the warrior tree, and I was like, I kind of wasn't going to go into the warrior tree, but then I saw an ability that lets you negate full damage by like basically doing like a ground pound midair. And so my plan was like, I'm going to go movement speed, run off a cliff, and then just ground pound midair and just smash down on some enemies. And like, I think the build variety in this game and the way the game just lets you play, like you're kind of kind of everything's kind of OP and strong in this game, I feel like. But the game's like, why would we get in the way of fun? It's not like, we have to balance everything into the ground sort of thing. It's more just like, there's an ability that lets you like just completely negate full damage and crash down on your enemies. That sounds fun. Let's let the player do that. And it just makes like the actual like building of your character and the actual gameplay just feel really fun. And the best review I saw for Avowed was it's sort of like a junk food RPG. Like, it is very fun to just pick up and play and just run around and kill things and explore and just not really think about. But there's no like,
it's not a mechanical driven.
No, there's not like sustenance to it. When I stopped playing Avowed, I'm like, that was fun, but I'm never like thinking about Avowed, and I'm never like, I have to keep playing Avowed.
Fast food RPG.
It's just fun to pick up and put down, but never like makes me want to go, I need to have more of this. I don't know.
I guess like, I guess what we want is like Avowed 2 or Outer Worlds 2 with like the gameplay, but with like
it's exactly what I said after I played the Outer Worlds. Was I'm excited for Outer Worlds 2 because it feels like they improved on a lot of stuff in terms of like the gameplay, but they kind of forgot about the RPG mechanics. And Avowed feels like they really improved the gameplay again, but they just kind of, you know, it comes at the cost of having like a shorter RPG that is more like Avowed feels like a game that is that almost feels like a game that is to fill Game Pass. It's like it's a game for Game Pass. It's like something for people to play that are subbed. Yeah, which makes me kind of worried about like Game Pass games going forward, where I feel like Microsoft
incentive is wrong.
Is it incentivized to put more stuff out quicker rather than making longer, more more meaningful stuff? I don't know.
Yeah.
But we're definitely still going to get that from the indie scene. So,
which is still doing it's going stronger, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like Game Pass, like I think Josh Sawyer himself said, like Game Pass allowed Obsidian to make Pentiment. which for all accounts of what I've seen people have said about it is a very interesting, weird game that is, not everyone's cup of tea, but it is, something interesting that they were allowed to do because of Game Pass sort of thing, right? But yeah, what do you think of? Have you looked into Avowed at all? Because
I have a little bit. Yeah, I have a little bit, and I was. As someone that's like, I'm like, I mean, I played The Witcher 1. Like, I can play a game with absolutely terrible mechanics, but Witcher 1 has a really good story. And I was like, I wanted to be in the world. I was like, and if I'm not interested in the world, like, I kind of need that, like, more than like, I feel like you do. As I feel like you can be, and even I'm not saying like you don't need the substance either, but I feel like you're mechanical first. Like, I might be mechanical second.
I used to be, but I feel like I'm becoming less of it. Like, I used to be very much so. Like, I will play a game that has amazing gameplay and zero story. But these days, I'm kind of more like, I kind of need an interesting story or characters to get me in.
I just want the context. Like, I want both, but I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of like the gameplay to have like context that matters. I just feel that just adds way more than just the gameplay alone.
There's something.
So, I'm just a bit disappointed.
I mean, like, the gameplay of this game's good. It's not neon white. Like, it's not like, oh my god, I like playing this game makes me feel insane. Like, it's so fun, and I have to. I want to just constantly load up this game and just go straight into the gameplay. It's like, it's fine, it's okay. Yeah. It's something I played because it was on Game Pass.
It for the genre it's in. It's very good, but it needed the reason that makes it its genre needed to be the core of it needed to be better to support it.
Yeah, I think I really wanted to like Avowed more than I did.
Yeah. And it kind of sucks. I still feel like the world of like you said it. What was it? The world it's based on?
Pillars of Eternity.
Pillars of Eternity. Like, it still seems interesting. I just feel like this isn't the like way to be introduced to the lore, to like the backstory. Or maybe I just don't gel with it. I don't know. Maybe that is the problem. But I feel like there's interesting stuff has and can happen with this. I just feel like this isn't the one.
I feel like
for that story.
I think Pillars of Eternity is like a isometric CRPG, I think. It's something along those lines.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Yeah.
I think if this game was an isometric CRPG, I don't think people would play it. I think it's because it's
absolutely not.
A first-person RPG. It's got a lot more people to get into that world.
Yeah.
When it comes to like,
how many people are going to come back? But people aren't going to remember the story. Like, I feel like they won't like look at the universe again. Just
to go like briefly into the story. I was not a big like. You basically wake up and there's like this otherworldly entity that is like, we're doing something, MacGuffin.
Yeah.
Go out into the world and we'll talk to you constantly and make no sense. Yeah. And I was very much just like, every time the voice, which is the name of the thing that is talking to you, I was very much just like, I don't care about this. The story was so uninteresting to me in this game. Like, I just couldn't give a shit about it. Like, I really tried. And then I was like, okay, I don't care about the story. The gameplay is fine. I'm kind of just going around these big empty worlds that, you just kind of run around and kill camps in. There's just...
Yeah.
And I'm trying to play less games that I don't really care about. And Avowed was a fine game on Game Pass that I was going to lose in a week. And I was like, I just don't need to finish this game. I played like 20 hours and it was okay. And that's what I think about Avowed.
It kind of reminds me of like this is just the story part that I've seen, and like completely ignoring the.
It's a good looking game.
Right? I like the look of it. Some of the character design is okay. I kind of like the mushroom stuff is cool in the land. But you remember like when RPGs were big and like there'd be like lots of really terrible RPGs. The story kind of reminds me of those terrible RPGs. You just do not care.
Somebody compared this game to like Kingdoms of Amalur, which I was like, that's
Kingdoms
of Amalur Reckoning, which I was like, oh, that's kind of not a terrible comparison between the games.
That's how I kind of felt when I was slowly like watching the reviews and like, oh, okay, this reminds me too much of Amalur. Amalur Reckoning Kingdom, whatever it's called.
But yeah.
Yeah, a bit disappointing.
Tony, I'm gonna try and play fighting game. I was watching Street Fighter 6 gameplay on Twitch, and I was like, man, I need to play Street Fighter 6. I have it downloaded.
Yeah, I need to play more of it.
I've finished Steam Next Fest demos, so we're going to be talking about those on the next video, and I'm going to finish Prince of Persia, and then I'm not sure if I'm going to go back and finish Metaphor because it's a really long game, but I'll see what I think when I finish Prince of Persia. But yeah,
how far are you through Metaphor? Like 70% through, or less?
No, I'm like probably maybe halfway. I'm like 40 hours in, so I feel like I'm about halfway.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
But the thing with Metaphor is it's a long JRPG, but I want to, because I've had time off it because I haven't played it since December, and I'm like, it's been enough time that I've had a break from it and I can come back, but it's also, I don't want to leave it too long because I'll just, I'll struggle to come back to it if I leave it too long, sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.